Hello YouTube, it's Sean from the Pompey Games Room here, back with another video, non-video game related this one. So today, as you can probably tell from the title of the video, we're going to be looking at some wrestling figures. Now these wrestling figures are really important to me as they're my younger brothers. For those of you that already know my channel story, my younger brother passed away in 2007, but we still got bits and bobs to remember him by, and these being one of them. So really heavy bag full of wrestling figures. These have been accumulated probably, I would say, from about 1995, probably right up until about 2005, a few years before he passed away. In here, there's pretty much everything. So we're going to go through it, going to go through figure by figure, and just so you guys can have a quick look at them. So the reason I'm doing this video is I found them in the loft a little while ago when my parents recently moved. And I decided to take them because obviously it's something to remember my younger brother by, but I thought about it the other day, and the fact that they're just sitting in the loft, it's great for me. But Ed had two really close friends whilst he was growing up in Dale and Mike, so I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide them into three piles. I'm going to keep a few, and then I'm going to give, they don't know about it yet, I'm going to give Dale and Mike a pile each as well, because they're all figures that, to be fair, he probably ended up buying a few with them out and about around town and stuff. But in that bag, there's ones that we picked up at car boot sales. There's ones that he picked up when I was working at Alders, which was a department store, which is now closed. And there's some annuals in here as well. There's some custom figures which he tried to make. But you know, there's stuff from all sorts of generations. So you got, like, you know, Matt Hardy, and then right at the bottom you've got just a lucky dip here. I'm not even looking. So then there's an Earthquake. You know, is that Earthquake? That is Earthquake. So lots of different genres of wrestlers and from different years. So let's get going and have a quick look at what we got. Okay then guys, so we're going to start off by looking at each figure individually. So obviously you can fast forward this if you want to have a quick look at what we got here, but there's a real mishmash here of different sort of companies. There's some WCW ones in here that I've just seen as well. So we're going to start off with this crazy one here. This is Jeff Hardy, I believe, with paint in his ear. Obviously that was probably over time of Ed customising figures, but these ones were really cool. I remember we sold these ones in Alders, and in the packs they were sort of posed, so you would do like moves with them, which is why his hair's like that. So I can only assume that he's supposed to be doing his is that Swanton Bomb off the Senton Bomb or something off the top rope. But these are quite cool, so you can like pose them in different ways and things like that. But these Hardy Boy figures are so cool. I always remember these when I was a kid. But so that's Hardy Boys. Next one we got Rikishi, or was it Fatu he was known as before? He was one of the head shrinkers, I believe, wasn't he, in the 90s? But the likeness on these figures is absolutely crazy. I mean, yeah, this is like early 2000s, I believe. But these were the Jax figures. I think they were Jax figures. Let's have a quick look. Jax, can't quite see it. Yeah, Jax. So these ones were the real head scans. But yeah, pretty amazing figures back in the day. The likeness of them was absolutely crazy. Obviously, let's go back to the real 90s when wrestlers had to have a day job. They couldn't just literally be a wrestler just to make ends meet. But this is IRS. This would have been a car boot sale pickup. Outrageously big arms for such a small figure with small legs. So, but yeah, the detail. I mean, look at how much these figures came on in the years. I mean, the likeness there. I mean, IRS isn't bad, I mean, but that Rikishi one is pretty amazing, really, isn't it, when you think about it? So the IRS, we've got one of, this is another thing I wanted to say, there's going to be a lot of duplicate figures. So here's an Undertaker one. This would have been the Badass Undertaker, was it? I don't know. I can't remember. He's lost his ponytail there by the looks of it, but got some art down his arms there. Not sure how accurate that is, but again, this was so this little silver thing here was for the Titantron. I remember when I was at Alders, you used to be able to stand them on the entrance Titantron that used to play their music, which is quite cool. Got a fair few figures for Ed over the years from Alders, even ordering in a few from America for him, which he even sold some at school as well. So he has a little business going on the side, but this one's always quite cool, the Hurricane. I mean, also the likeness on that is pretty cool. So Yep, Hurricane Helms. There is another Jeff Hardy. I'm sure we'll find Matt Hardy down the line as well. In fact, I've seen two already. I pulled Matt Hardy out right at the beginning as well. Some of these guys have been in pretty painful positions in that bag over the year, as you can see. But again, you know, the facial expressions on these are pretty immense. And again, the Titantron figures. Next one is one that will be going to Mike, because I know he quite liked X-Pac. So X-Pac D-Generation X version. Pretty cool with his bandana there as well. I mean, you know, they pump these figures out. Crazy amount of figures. The same head sculpt with a different shirt on, as you're going to see throughout this video. They pumped these figures out in the late 90s to early 2000s, like just absolute crazy amount of figures there was of the same person, as you're going to see. So there's a Triple H figure here. Interesting, I remember when I worked at Alders, the test figure looked literally exactly the same as Triple H, just with a different beard, I believe, but that was probably the only figure that they got a bit lazy on when they made these, but that's one of the many Triple H figures. Yeah, I'm going to grab a few actually and just put them up, because I'm going one at a time here. So next one is Latino Heat in Eddie Guerrero. Really good figure again, good likeness there. Remember that shirt actually when I used to watch wrestling. But yeah, one of the wrestlers that is no longer with us. Probably like many will be in this pile that I'm going to go through. And we come to our first Matt Hardy figure. Some of these had shirts which are probably in the bottom of the box, at the bottom of the bag here. But I mean, yeah, these figures, they're so cool. I mean, it's going to be hard to actually separate these. Next one is proper, I think this was Brothers of Destruction, was that what it was called? With Kane. There is a Kane figure in a minute, actually, looks really cool. But that's what I was saying about the clothes, you know. They've got these little rubber shirts. I mean, not friendly to the environment at all, but, you know, when you're a kid, you really don't care about these things, do you? Those things. So, Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker. Another Triple H. I remember definitely buying this one at Alders for Ed. In fact, I think he might have even come in with Mike and picked this up, because I remember I put this aside for him. But yeah, so again, you know, licensed to release a new figure just by actually changing a shirt on a wrestler. But I think Ed even had that shirt. So grab another handful. In fact, I can see some old ones on the side here. So let's grab some of these guys. There's no order to these whatsoever. So we've got a classic Hacksaw Jim Duggan figure. Would have been a car boot sale find. So what year have we got here? Is that 1990? 1990 that was. I think these were Hasbro's. Can't quite make that out. Let me just have a quick look. Hasbro, right at the bottom there. So these were the Hasbro line of figures. Much loved over the years, this one. But yeah, I remember playing these with Ed, like mid-90s when I was at secondary school, when we were waiting for the wrestling to come on. One of the all-time classic figures and nostalgic figures for me in the classic Undertaker with the hat. And look at that look. And he had that pose there, he had a choke slam, and he could also hit you. So yeah, remember this, very, very nostalgic figure. Really remember playing with this a lot when we were kids. Next one is... Oh, got a really good handful there stuff. So, one WCW figure here. I know there was definitely another one, and I think this is Big Papa Pump, is it? Scott Steiner? Big Papa Pump. Memory's not failed me there, actually. Yeah, WCW figures, they were, I remember they sold these at Alders at the time as well. They didn't really have as much sort of, you know, I don't think they looked as good, in all honesty, as the let's just grab one of the, about the same time this would have been out, so this would have been the difference. I mean, the style's there, I mean, there's no comparison really. Yeah, the detail on the faces of these ones was just, I mean, that's not bad, but, you know, it's also feels really plasticky, whereas these were like rubbery and stuff, so they just felt a bit more high quality. But, so Big Papa Pump there, and I seem to have mixed these up, so I'm not too sure. No, I haven't done this one. This is another Undertaker in a trench coat this time, with another ponytail. Trench coat's pretty cool. I don't think you could take these off because I think the sleeves were actually painted. Yeah, the sleeves were painted on, but underneath, sort of, you had a rubber coat and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So Another Undertaker. I'm definitely going to be able to divide up Undertakers between Mike and Dale. That won't be a problem. We have another Matt Hardy. So the Hardys were one of Ed's favourite tag teams, and my favourite tag team are coming up next. In fact, I've seen one of them in the box, but I'm sure you can imagine who the next ones are. So, yep, that's one. Here we go. You know what? I'm going to show these two together. They deserve to be together. So, was it 5 second pose? Edge and Christian. These guys, they just cracked me up when I was a kid. I remember watching SmackDown, and they would come out in sort of sombrero hats and stupid glasses and stuff like that. Proper entertainment, these two. And I think Edge has actually just come back, hasn't he? So he's been around for a long time now. So reeking of awesomeness. So on the back, great tagline. And these ones were the Titantron figures as well. So yeah, Edge and Christian there. In fact, I think they might have come in the same pack. Memory. Next one's a pretty cool figure and a really good likeness, and that is Mankind, the Mick Foley Mankind. I can't tell if this shirt is just in bad condition or if it's meant to look like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's just in bad condition where it's been stored in the loft for so many years. But yeah, I mean, this figure was pretty grubby when it was sold in the shop, so it probably wasn't much worse than this, in all honesty. But yeah, pretty cool. Another great likeness there. I think he's even missing some of his teeth, if you can see there as well, along the top. So yeah, this probably would have been just after he thrown through Hell in a Cell. That sort of time. We got another Matt Hardy figure with a very, I seem to recall Christian had a shirt like this as well for a little while that he wore, but I suppose that's probably a classic Hardys when they first came in. But the first of many Stone Cold Steve Austins. Some of these have got the knee pads on, as you can tell as well, and they're all sort of still quite dirty and stuff, and it's just where they've been stored away. So like I said, they've been in a loft for years. But yeah, another Stone Cold, well, one of the Stone Colds there. Let's get another handful of figures out. The first of many Rocks as well, wearing a rather fetching Rock shirt. As obviously he would have walked around the town wearing this sort of clothing. But I mean, yeah, the detail's pretty good again on the face. And yeah, not much you can really say about that, to be honest. But yeah, one of the many Rocks. Underrated wrestler, one of my favourites. William Regal. Used to love William Regal. Absolutely loved him. Brilliant. Obviously a British wrestler in the WWE. Played so many different parts, was so versatile. I think he played about 5 different wrestlers that I can think of during the 90s when he was in WCW. I was at Lord Regal, he played for a little while, then he was the Man's Man, the Working's Man when he came into WWE, and then he turned into William Regal. Stephen Regal, I think he played as well. There's 5 or 6 different incarnations of this character, but really, really underrated and underutilised wrestler. Next one is one of my favourite figures. I always thought this one looked really cool, and that is Raven. With, is it Punisher? There's a game called Punisher, it's got a similar logo to that. But yeah, really cool Raven figure. I really, really love this figure. When I was at Orders, when they sold this, I seem to recall they didn't stick around very long, these ones. But I actually got this one ahead of it being released in the UK for Ed from America when I was at Orders. We used to be able to order stuff in from the suppliers. And we sold a few of those actually in school. So probably netted himself a hefty little profit there. Another Stone Cold Steve Austin there, who looks a bit like the Gilbert character. If you remember Gilbert, the Goldberg rip-off in WWE. But yeah, another Stone Cold Steve Austin character. A classic, I remember Ed getting this along with a Shawn Michaels figure at Car Boot. A classic Bret Hart figure. This one's really cool. In fact, I might try and clean this one up and give this one to my daughter because we want to give her one of these figures. But I used to play with this quite a lot when we were kids. We had a Shawn Michaels one as well, which was the same sort of variety, but we actually planted a tree at my parents' former house and we put the Shawn Michaels one under it because it was Ed's favourite wrestler, so we planted that tree with that figure. The next ones, as you can tell, there's still a lot in this bag. Grab another handful. I'll show these two together. Remember Ed getting this one parents' evening. One of his very, very few good reports he had from school, and my dad treated him to, well, mum and dad treated him to these classic wrestling poses of the time. One would lift up, and the other one would jump off the ring posts. So Yeah, so was it the death? I can't remember their finisher, but it was the one would stand on a ring post and then the other one would jump off. Seriously, I mean, I remember watching these guys for years when I was a kid. I can't even remember their finisher. Another really cool figure here. My wife caught sight of this actually in the bag before I started recording this and said maybe we won't give that one to Ruth, but it's a rather sinister looking Kane figure. But what a great job they did on this figure. I mean, it's so cool. Look at that. And this is another Jax figure. I seem to recall as well that they actually did these in size. So if one person was really tall, they actually made the figure taller. I mean, I don't know how tall Raven is. In fact, that's probably complete rubbish because they're about the same. No, forget that. I'm not even going to cut that. So, but well, maybe. Next one is a rather random one, and that's an Albert figure. I can't remember. He was Albert. There we go. This is TNA Albert when he was with Test. I seem to recall that was the sort of attire he used to wear. But yeah, another really good likeness there. Crazy facial hair. One of the two Ultimate Warriors. This would have been picked up at a car boot sale, and this is a Hasbro again, I believe. And this has got the classic one off the ring post with the jumping off the ring post and things like that. It still works really well actually. Some of these have seized right up, but yeah, Ultimate Warrior figure. Again, not the greatest likeness, but you can tell who it is, can't you? So we have another Stone Cold Steve Austin figure. This one's in sort of a Street Fighter attire, I suppose. Again with the knee pads and things like that. Wrestler I was really fond of when I was a kid, growing up in WCW as well. That's Chris Jericho, wearing one of his many garish shirts that he used to wear. So you've got Chris Jericho there. And I nearly picked up the same figure again. Pick up this lot here. Just about to say actually, I don't think we got any of the Dudley Boy figures. As Earthquake sneaks into view there. Did I do Earthquake? I did, I held him up at the beginning. I bet you can't guess who's next. Anyway, one of the Dudley Boys in Devon Dudley. Pretty good figure again. I don't believe we've got Bubba in here. I haven't seen him, but I stand corrected if we find him a bit later. Really good likeness again. Dudley Boys, brilliant tag team. Used to love watching them with the TLC matches with the Hardys. This one looks more like a wrestler, one of the female wrestlers called Tori. I seem to recall back in the day. I'll put a picture up here, but I always remembered this because I was still watching the wrestling when I was working at Alders, and I remember seeing this Jeff Hardy figure and thinking that doesn't look like that guy at all. I mean, when you do the likeness with, this is going to go everywhere now. These are balanced like so precariously, it's unbelievable. So, there's one. So when you compare him with this one, oh no, that wasn't it. Typical, I've pulled out about 5 Jeff Hardys and now I can't actually find one. So, there we go. So, if you compare it with this one here, I mean, the likeness there is just, it's night and day, isn't it? You know? Anyway, this was a Jax figure, I believe. Yeah, Jax figure. So, another Titantron figure, but this one had one of the shirts, so you could, you know, take the shirt on and off. Change it with Matt. Got some headless figures coming up here as well. The first Kurt Angle, brilliant wrestler. Such a great gimmick. I mean, he could do anything. He was so talented. Considering he came to sort of WWE really late in his, you know, obviously he was an amateur wrestler before and he just picked it up so well. But yeah, there's a Kurt Angle. I believe this one came with medals, or at least came with like a fabric shirt. But might find it in the bottom of the thing in a minute. So. This is, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you who this is. And I bet his trousers are at the bottom somewhere. But, I mean, this guy looks like he's had a real, I mean, this is how he's been stored in the thing. Like I said, some of these poor guys have been stored in the most awkward positions. So this is actually one of the movement figures that I was talking about right at the beginning with Jeff Hardy. So that's the same one. So you could like pose these guys. I think this one was the Twist of Fate. So his hair's flying because he's doing his Twist of Fate move. He did come with his trousers, but his trousers are probably in the bottom of this bag. So when we do find him, I'll pair him back up. But that's Matt Hardy, another one. Another great likeness there. This one is, I want to say this guy's I want to say his name's Borger, something like that. I sort of recall him, but I don't think he lasted very long in the WWE, and it's probably not his name. But yeah, a standard pose, pick people up, drop them. Pretty dodgy looking suit that he's wearing. Again, another trait in the 90s, some just ridiculous pickups, some ridiculous sort of costumes that they'd wear. I believe this is a company called Galoob that have made this. Galoob, yeah, world famous figures. It's Lex Luger, WCW, but they are literally solid. I mean, these things, they're like, you could use this to really hurt someone. Yeah, so pretty good likeness actually there for Lex Luger, but this was his WCW figure. Yeah, one pose, don't really know what you could do much for that. Another Ultimate Warrior, I remember picking this one up at the car boot, and he was missing some of his fingers. So, well, one of his fingers there, but always really cool detail. Always thought the really cool detail on his knee pads there and things like that. I always remember that when I was a kid. But yeah, really cool figure. Really nostalgic figure, a bit like the Undertaker actually, figure that we looked at. A Ministry of Darkness Undertaker with the crazy rolled back eyes there. Again, I mean, you know, the costumes that this guy went through, you know, the many changes that he went through during his career in the WWE, he's still going now. I mean, sometimes you just feel that these guys should retire, but you know, this guy just, if you watched wrestling in the 90s and 2000s even as well, you know, the Undertaker's an absolute legend, isn't he? So Earthquake getting his second or technically third viewing on this video, because he was picked up right at the beginning and then he managed to sneak in as I was showing a Jeff Hardy figure. Yeah, really difficult figure to get hold of, I believe this was, back in the 90s. I don't think they had many of these, and Ed picked him up at Toys R Us, I believe. But he was really happy when he came in with that one, I remember. But done those ones. Need another load. Got to be careful not to confuse my daughter's Bob the Builder figures. Just to the side here. God, there's still so many more to go here. So, another handful of figures. And we're going to start with the first female. And that is another one that's in a crazy pose. And that's Lita. So she was obviously with the Hardy Boys as their sort of manager. But really talented wrestler as well. She always managed to do some absolute crazy moves, I remember. But she was one of the first females I remember doing like the flips and things. But so there's a Lita figure. Everyone's favourite, Mr. Perfect. Remember Mr. Look at that look. A classic 90s wrestler here, Mr. Perfect. Who didn't love Mr. Perfect? The vignettes that he did when he was just, in fact, I'm just crazy of him like throwing basketballs and stuff like that, and getting holes in one at golf were just such a good gimmick. And you know, he was such a talented wrestler as well. And another wrestler that's not with us obviously now, died a fair few years ago now actually, Kurt Hennig. But so next one, who should we just do this one? So this one is, I don't know, it's just was this Incredible? Just Incredible. Yep, Just Incredible. There we go. One of the WCW or WCW wrestlers, I believe, that came in. And he was sort of one of the hardcore wrestlers, I seem to recall, or light heavyweight, one of those. But yeah, not many of these figures, I suppose, knocking around. But yeah, it's a Just Incredible figure. We have another Edge figure here, in a sort of backstage attire. Quite a cool figure. Again, I think it's the same head sculpt as the last Edge figure that I showed. This is another Titantron figure, as many of the Jax ones were. Another Chris Jericho figure, so that's the second one. Really cool trousers that he used to have, the tights he used to wear. I always thought they were really cool, the Jericho trousers. So yeah, quite a good sort of cheesy look there. Who should we do next? Let's do this classic one. Jake the Snake Roberts. Look at that, absolutely brilliant. So Jake the Snake's obviously really cleaned his act up now. He's all clean thanks to DDP, DDP yoga and things like that. So I do keep track of the wrestling and things like that. I mean, it's just so bad, but it's funny to watch, isn't it? And it's so nostalgic for me. Anyone that knows my channel obviously will know how important some of these you know, memories are to me. But yeah, this is a classic figure. I remember this is one of the earlier lines actually of wrestling figures, along with the next one, who I don't actually know who this is, but we'll just call him, I don't know who that is actually, but yeah. Crazy hat though, look at that. Anyway, it's a bit like Hacksaw Jim Duggan with the face sculpt there. The next one is the first Big Show figure. I think this must have been one of the first ones when he came in, because he's sort of like in backstage attire. Seems to recall he ripped a cage door. No, he didn't rip a cage door off, did he? He came in when Vince was feuding with Stone Cold. Remember that? And that looks like the sort of thing he was wearing when he came through the ring. That's it, of course he came through the ring. Big Show figure there. One of the Nasty Boys. I don't know which one this is. Nasty Boys were a little bit before my time actually. They were still in the WWF when I started watching it, but they were sort of coming to the end of their lifespan. A nameless figure here, in one that Ed was trying to actually probably modify into his own custom wrestler, but we'll never know who it was. I can only assume this is probably a Triple H figure or something, but yeah, big fan of red, as you can tell. For a Pompey fan, which is controversial, obviously Southampton. Another handful of figures here. Probably pick up most of these now actually. So, oh, I've just seen an absolute brilliant one that I remember. In fact, I'm going to do that one straight away. So I'm going to go with this figure who I always thought looked cool. We picked him up at a car boot back in about 96, 97. That's the British Bulldog. Patriotic, look at that. Brilliant. Yeah, British Bulldog. Another standard pose. To be fair, he wasn't far off looking like that, was he? He was a big lad. So, another real classic figure. Macho Man. Had the Undertaker pose that we looked at earlier. Some of his arms are seized up and stuff, but yeah, classic Macho Man figure there. Another custom figure that Ed looked like he was modifying an X-Pac there. Painted black this time, so we've gone for black and red attire. Yeah, so that was an X-Pac. Probably very similar to the same one that we did earlier. Mike, this one's on its way to you. Need I say more? Rob Van Dam. Running joke going with Mike and I about one of our mutual friends that we used to play football with was obsessed with RVD. So Mike, that's on his way to you. But Rob Van Dam. Another Rock. This is more sort of wrestling Rock, isn't it? In the pants there. Another Hardy Boys figure in Matt Hardy. Again, another Titantron figure. I think we did a Jeff Hardy one earlier in the red attire as well. Kurt Angle backstage. I think this one came with a glass of milk, I seem to recall, that they sold at the store. I remember seeing that a few times. You would not believe it. It snuck in again. Oh, Jesus Christ. So, next one. Scotty 2 Hotty. Crazy hairstyle. He used to come with a hat, which he put over the top. Yeah. Quite a cool little figure there, actually. Oh, his tag partner's next. Can't remember who this guy was called. Nothing written on. Grandmaster, was it? Grandmaster? Can't remember. Grandmaster Sexy, that was it. Yeah. Doesn't really look like the guy again, but you've got the ball on that. Not many of those figures though, I'm sure. You know what? This is really weird actually. I was thinking, I've never seen Psycho Sid have a figure, but here is one. So this one must be a WCW figure. So look, is it licensed to World Championship Wrestling? It's Mattel. I seem to recall Mattel made the WCW figures, but this thing's huge. Sort of got a movement on the back. I'm not too sure what it does, but it doesn't feel like it really works. But it's quite a good likeness actually for Psycho Sid. A guy that always looks slightly unhinged. Quite a good likeness. Another wrestler that never really sort of reached his potential, I think. In Billy Gunn, sorry. In his classic pink there. I think that was when he was with Chuck Palumbo. I can't remember what the tag team was called. Billy and Chuck, wasn't it? That would have been awkward. I remembered it, and it was actually their first names. But quite a cool figure actually. Really good likeness actually of Billy Gunn there. Next one is one of my all-time favourite figures. I'll definitely be keeping this one, so sorry Mike and Dale, but this is Bret the Hitman Hart. I remember getting this at the car boot with Ed. Oh man, this figure is just absolutely brilliant. Used to play with this so much, we did. Unbelievable. Actually, along with the next one, because he was another favourite of mine. Rowdy Roddy Piper. Absolutely brilliant. But these two are actually really good friends in real life. But Rowdy Roddy Piper's passed away now as well. So, but brilliant little figure as well. But yeah, so Bret Hart and Rowdy Roddy Piper here. Yeah, really good little figures actually. Next figure is Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie was, well, she was one of the best, what is it, sort of, you just love to hate her. The actual character of her was so funny. Obviously she started a real life relationship with Triple H, they're now actually married, aren't they? But yeah, I always remember that she was so devious. But yeah, really good figure actually, really good likeness. Stephanie McMahon. Next one, this one looks like Crash Holly, who's been modified by Ed. So pretty good likeness there again with Crash Holly. So grubby some of these figures, but like I said, they've been in the attic for years. So we're getting near the bottom now, guys. In fact, we're so close to the bottom. We're so close to pick up the bag. Right, next one, we are looking at a quite crazy Undertaker, who's been modified again, who seems to have some sort of undercut going on his hair. Totally different hair colour in the roots there. But yeah, so an Undertaker figure which has been modified. Back to the old day job wrestlers. Obviously a policeman, Big Boss Man. Man, I bet there's loads of variants of these figures around, because he went from really fat to moderately thin to really fat again, and then just massively obese big. I think this must be massively obese big. I've just created that term. I think that works quite well for the Big Boss Man. Probably the stereotype of most policemen at the time as well, in America. But yeah, good figure. The first Hulk Hogan figure. God, we've gotten literally half an hour into the video looking at wrestling figures, and there's the first Hulk Hogan. Same as Jake the Snake, in that you could pull the fist back and then he would let go and obliterate his opponent. So we seem to have Shawn Michaels from the Rockers, but no Marty Jannetty. One of the very early Shawn Michaels figures, same as the Ultimate Warrior ones that we were looking at earlier. You can push them up and then they'd spring off. Oh, there we go. Let's go for two. Another Hulk figure. This is a classic one. So I seem to recall this along with the Undertaker figure, this one, and Bret Hart. I seem to recall you could a few years ago get these still in the bags, and they're like just frighteningly expensive to actually get. I always remember seeing them. I think it was there was a YouTuber, I can't remember his name, Hygiene76 or something like that. He might even still be on here, but I am subscribed to him, but he hasn't put a video up in ages. He had some of these and they were like selling for like 300-400 quid at the time. But anyway, yeah, so there's a Hogan figure. Pretty standard one, to be honest. I think we picked this probably up at a car boot back in the mid-90s. This one looks like maybe Kerry Von Erich, is it? The Tornado, Texas Tornado. Does it sound about? Doesn't say. I'm pretty sure that's one of the Von Erichs in the Tornado, Texas Tornado. But yeah, he was really talented family, the Von Erichs, I seem to remember. In the mid-90s. Okay. Found the other Nasty Boy as well, so 5 figures left, guys, and there's no trousers from Matt Hardy. So Sergeant Slaughter should really be after Hogan. Obviously, these two had classic feuds back in the mid-90s. Sergeant Slaughter with his hat, such a brilliant character. But the guy, when he actually played the part of the sympathiser with the Iranian wrestlers at the time, the Iron Sheik, he was actually getting death threats when he was when he was doing that. I mean, it's like the height of one of the wars at the time when he was playing this, and the WWF thought it would be good to actually turn him to an Iranian sympathiser, is that what I call it? But yeah, he was he was getting death threats and everything. I mean, people took this way too seriously in the 90s. So the second Nasty Boy, I think this is this Sag's Knobs, this one? I think it is, but pretty cool head sculpt on that. But the shirts are pretty cool. Like I said, sort of missed out on the Nasty Boys when I was a kid. So did Ed as well. Greg the Hammer Valentine. Is that, yeah, the Hammer written on the back. So Greg the Hammer Valentine. Car boot sale pickup. I seem to recall quite vividly that he bought these two at the same car boot. So yeah, I seem to recall we got both of these at the same car boot. So Greg the Hammer Valentine. I'm amazed on remembering some of these wrestlers' names. Bam Bam Bigelow. Really, really underrated wrestler. Such a big man, but could actually move so well for someone his size. Moonsaults off top ropes and things like that. I mean, he's a big guy. Look at that. I know it's a figure, but you know. And in all honesty, so could this guy. Big Boss Man could move really well. And there was a second Bushwhacker, but he's no longer here. So we just got one. So one of the Bushwhackers. I can't remember. Was it Butch and I can't remember the other one. We'll call this one Butch. So a quick look. Pile pie here. That's all of the wrestlers there. There's quite a few to go through there. So one thing I did want to quickly do was, I did show you that there was some annuals in here as well. And there's 3 of them, so I'll give one to Mike and one to Dale. I'll keep one for myself. I'm not too sure which one I'll keep for myself, so there's 3. So I'll quickly go through those as well, because it's silly not to. I want to keep memories of these things, so it'll be nice to have. Like I said, this channel is a real memory bank for me, really, to go through and sort of be able to look back through it, the stuff I've had and things I've done. So in here we got lots of different things about Bret Hart and the wrestlers at the time. Old Undertaker there, look how young he looks. It's crazy. Like I said, the guy's still wrestling now. Paul Bearer, another guy that's no longer with us. Dragon, Jake the Snake. Mr. Perfect, British Bulldog in the UK. Never went to the Wembley show they did. Was it SummerSlam they did here? Mr. Perfect, such a great wrestler. I used to love Mr. Perfect. Some adverts there for the Survivor Series. So what is this one actually? This is the official annual, and it doesn't have a year though. £4.50 it would have been. This was actually in, thought there would be a date here, but Brutus the Barber Beefcake there right at the end. Some merchandise here, one of Hulk's many bad films that he probably did around the time. Macho Man, Roddy Piper, The Rockers, Legion of Doom, Tornado, that's Texas Tornado for sure. The Mountie, remember he was quite big for a few years. Big Boss Man, some classics, and there we go, Sergeant Slaughter. That was when he went for the Iranian. Just trying to quickly read through some stuff here. Yeah, I mean, people really took this gimmick far too serious. Bret Hart classic, so we've seen it from here, haven't we? Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So that's this one here. Not too sure which one of these will be going to Dale, which one will be going to Mike. Now, one of these, I think it was this one. I remember Ed getting really excited that he bought this. That he bought one of these. No, it's the next one. The next one. Sorry. I'll tell that story in a minute. So, let's go from the back. It's easier to flip through. Shawn Michaels here. Tatanka. There wasn't a Tatanka one actually, somewhere, but it must have gone missing. So, Blaze. There we go, it's the Bushwhackers. Ah, there we go. That's the Rikishi one of the head shrinkers. I knew this was going to be a problem. So, yeah, I knew this lighting was going to be a problem, sorry. God knows which one of the Bushwhackers we had. They both literally look the same there. So, Mabel. Very young Diesel there. Undertaker again. Crush. Trying to see if there's any wrestlers that came back as other people there, but I don't think there was any. Macho Man there. I missed anyone there. Bob Holly, really young. X-Puck there as a 1-2-3 kid. God, this is so nostalgic. This looking through this. Razor Ramon. Doink and Dink. Yokozuna. Played that role so well considering he was an American. But Lex Luger. Bret Hart. Brilliant match. I always remember watching this match. Ladder match. I think it was one of the SummerSlams, wasn't it? Razor say I remember watching it and then can't even remember what it was. So when Bret Hart won the championship, I believe, for the first time. And back to start there, so that one is the official. They don't have years on them. I thought they would have, but I'll say it's probably about 92, 93. The last one, this one here, I remember Ed buying this at a car boot. He got really excited for like 20p, and then we got home because he bought other wrestling figures and realised that half the pictures had been cut out from all the wrestlers. So always remember that. So again, we got very similar things here. Bret Hart, Yokozuna. Tonga again. Another cut out here. It looks like Razor Ramon's on the next page. Yeah, so that's cut out again. Yeah, I also remember there were just massive gaps taken out of it. I remember being in the car on the way home and him just being really annoyed. So another SummerSlam. Earthquake there we went through. Crush. Undertaker peering through there. Bam Bam Bigelow. The Undertaker was such a great character, wasn't he? Repo Man, from a great character to just an awful character. The narcissist, Lex Luger, that's when he first came in, I seem to recall. Macho Man. Mr. Perfect there as well. Hulksters. Hulkster. Seem to recall that's when he came back at one of the WrestleManias where Bret Hart lost to Yokozuna, wasn't it? And then he came out and then won the title. I always remember that was really, really poor back in the I think it was 94, something like that. It was outside. It was at one of the casinos. They did it outside. Giant Gonzalez, man with the painted muscle suit. How bad does that look? Karma. Shawn Michaels. I think they really like Shawn Michaels. Half the pages are cut out on Shawn Michaels. Papa Shango, who was also the Godfather, and Doink. That's the evil one, isn't it? But anyway, guys, like I said, completely different. This has been a really different video, but I just wanted to get all this captured on my channel before all these guys go off to two of Ed's mates, and I'm going to keep some as well. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you all again soon for another video game video. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.